sat in my car on Thanksgiving afternoon, gripping a brown folder so tightly my knuckles turned white. The folder had been living in my bag for 3 months, filled with documents I hoped I would never need to use. My family had been distant for the past 6 months, barely returning my calls, canceling plans at the last minute, responding to my texts with one-word answers. I kept telling myself it was just a phase that families go through rough patches, but something in my gut told me today was going to be different. As I pulled into my sister Brooke's driveway and saw all the cars already parked there, I took a deep breath and grabbed that folder. I had no idea that in just 2 hours I would be standing in that living room, watching my entire family fall apart, all because of what was inside. Before we get into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. If you have ever felt like your own family turned their backs on you, please hit that subscribe button and stay until the end, because this story will show you that sometimes the best weapon you can have is the truth. And I was about to use mine. I walked up the steps to Brooke's 2-story house in the suburbs, carrying the apple pie I had baked that morning and keeping the brown folder tucked safely in my purse. The house was decorated beautifully for Thanksgiving, with autumn wreaths on the door, candles glowing in the windows, and a long dining table set with an orange and yellow tablecloth visible through the front window. I could hear voices and laughter inside. When I opened the door, everyone was already there. My older sister Brooke, who was 36 and worked as a lawyer. Her husband Kyle, a finance director. My younger brother Tyler, 29, a software engineer. And my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Winters, both in their mid-60s and retired. I smiled and called out a warm hello, expecting the usual hugs and greetings we always shared. But nobody stood up. Brooke glanced up from the kitchen counter where she was arranging appetizers and gave me a cold nod. "Oh, you made it. Just put the pie on the counter." Her tone was flat dismissive. "No, happy Thanksgiving. No, we missed you." Just instructions like, I was a delivery person. I looked around the room confused. Tyler was on his phone, barely acknowledging my presence. My parents sat on the couch, and when I tried to make eye contact with my mother, she looked down at her lap. My father stared out the window, like he suddenly found the neighbor's yard fascinating. I tried to find a seat, but everyone was already sitting in a tight circle, and nobody moved to make room for me. I had to drag a chair from the corner of the room and awkwardly position myself at the edge of their circle, feeling like an outsider at my own family gathering. The feeling in my chest was heavy, uncomfortable. Something was very wrong. Dinner started at 3 in the afternoon. The table was set with all the traditional dishes: roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole rolls. It should have been warm and festive. Instead, it felt like sitting in a courtroom. I was seated at the far end of the table, physically separated from everyone else. The conversations flowed easily between them. Brooke talked about a high-profile case she was working on. Tyler bragged about his new startup venture and how the investors were impressed. My parents shared stories about their recent trip to Alaska, showing photos on their phones. But nobody asked me anything. Not about my job as a nurse at the hospital, not about my health, not about my life at all. Every time I tried to join the conversation, the room would go quiet for a few seconds, and then someone would change the subject. At one point I said, "I just got promoted to head nurse in my unit." Brooke responded with a quick, "Uh-huh," and immediately turned to Tyler to ask about his girlfriend. It was like I was invisible. I watched them pass dishes around the table, laugh at inside jokes I was not part of, and exchange knowing glances. Those glances. They kept looking at each other like they were all in on some secret, and I was the only one left out. After the main course, I stood up to help clear the plates, but Brooke stopped me. "No need. You just sit there." Her voice was cold, almost commanding. I sat back down, watching my family move around the kitchen in coordinated silence, cleaning up without me. Tyler pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then looked at Brooke and nodded. Brooke walked into her home office and came back carrying a single sheet of paper folded into thirds. It looked official, formal. My mother would not look at me. My father tugged at his collar uncomfortably, but said nothing. Brooke returned to the table and placed the paper down in front of her, then stood up straight. She looked directly at me with an expression I had never seen before, stern, cold, like I was a stranger. "We need to talk to you, Hannah," she said, her voice taking on the tone she probably used in courtrooms. My heart started racing. I felt my hand instinctively move toward my purse where the brown folder waited. Brooke stood there at the head of the table looking down at me like I was on trial. "Our family held a meeting and we took a vote. The result is this: you are no longer a member of this family." I sat frozen, my brain refusing to process the words. "What did you just say?" My voice came out shaky, barely above a whisper. Brooke picked up the paper and read aloud in that cold, professional tone. "We, the Winters family, consisting of Brooke Winters Shaw, Tyler Winters, David Winters, and Margaret Winters, agree that Hannah Winters is no longer deserving of being part of this family. This decision is effective immediately, November 23rd. She turned the paper around to show me. There were 4 signatures at the bottom. My sister, my brother, my father, my mother. All of them had signed a document disowning me. I looked at my mother, Mrs. Winters, whose eyes were filled with tears, but who said nothing. I looked at my father, Mr. Winters, who was staring out the window again, avoiding my gaze completely. Tyler sat there with his arms crossed, his face blank, like this was just another business transaction. I could barely breathe. "Why?" The word came out, broken. Brooke launched into her list of reasons like she was presenting evidence to a jury. "Reason number 1, you have not contributed financially to this family. When Mom and Dad needed money to fix the house last year, you only gave them $2,000 while I gave $10,000 and Tyler gave $5,000. I tried to interrupt. "Because I am a nurse. I do not make the same salary you and Tyler do, but the $2,000 was everything I had saved at the time." Brooke ignored me and continued. "Reason number 2, you constantly create drama during family gatherings. You complain about your job, about your life, and it makes everyone uncomfortable." "I was just sharing my struggles the same way everyone else does," I said, my voice shaking. Tyler jumped in. "No, you always want attention. You always want people to feel sorry for you." Brooke held up her hand to silence both of us. "And reason number 3, the most important one, you deliberately tried to sabotage my marriage. Last year at the Christmas party, you told Kyle that I cheated on him when we were first dating. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. But I never said that. I do not even remember talking to Kyle at that party." Kyle, who had been silent until now, spoke up, his voice hard. "I remember it clearly. You told me Brooke kissed another man at a bar." I shook my head frantically. "I never said that. That is not even true. Why would I say something like that?" Brooke leaned forward. "Are you calling my husband a liar?" The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. I looked around desperately for someone to defend me, but there was only silence. My mother kept crying quietly. My father still would not meet my eyes. Tyler was scrolling through his phone like this was boring him. I felt the world spinning around me. None of this made sense. I had never told Kyle anything about Brooke. I had never tried to hurt my sister. But here they were, all united against me, and I was completely alone. Brooke was not finished. She picked up the paper again. "Based on these reasons, this family has decided the following. You are not invited to any future family events. No Christmas, no birthdays, no weddings or funerals. You are removed from Mom and Dad's will. And you are not permitted to contact any of us unless we reach out to you first." I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. This was not just rejection. This was erasure. They were voting me out of existence. "You can leave whenever you are ready," Brooke said, her tone dismissive, like she was asking a server to clear the table. I looked at my mother one more time. "Mom, do you really believe all of this?" My voice cracked. Mrs. Winters spoke so quietly I could barely hear her. "Honey, we have to do what is best for the family. Brooke is the oldest, and you need to respect her decisions." I turned to my father. "Dad, You think this is right? Mr. Winters sighed heavily. Sometimes in families, someone has to make sacrifices. Maybe you should live independently for a while. Tyler stood up. If you do not have anything else to say, you should probably go. We have dessert planned. That was the moment everything became crystal clear. They had planned this. They had met without me, discussed me like I was a problem to be solved, voted on whether I deserved to be in their lives, and decided I did not. They had rehearsed this, prepared their speeches, signed their document. And they expected me to just walk out quietly, too ashamed and broken to fight back. But what they did not know was that I had been preparing too. Slowly, I reached into my purse and pulled out the brown folder. I placed it gently on the table in front of Brooke. I did not cry. I did not yell. I just smiled. A calm, steady smile. Before I go, I said quietly, I have a few things I would like to share with the family too. Brooke looked at the folder, her eyebrows furrowing. What is that? Open it and see, I said. Brooke hesitated for just a second before opening the folder. Inside was a thick stack of papers, bank statements, printed emails, screenshots of text messages, contracts, and a letter. The first page was a bank statement with the account name Margaret and David Winters printed clearly at the top. Brooke scanned it, and I watched her face slowly turn pale. What is this? Tyler asked, leaning over to look. That is a statement from Mom and Dad's bank account, I said calmly. Last year, when Mom had her surgery, she gave me power of attorney to help manage their finances while she recovered. I requested these records from the bank. I let that sink in for a moment before continuing. Does everyone remember last year when Mom and Dad needed $15,000 to fix the roof and rewire the electrical system? Everyone nodded. Brooke, you said you gave them $10,000. Tyler, you said you gave $5,000, and I supposedly only gave $2,000. Is that correct? Brooke's jaw tightened. Yes, that is correct. I flipped to the next page and pointed to the highlighted transactions. According to this official bank statement, Mom and Dad only received a total of $7,000. $5,000 from me and $2,000 from Tyler. There is no deposit from Brooke at all. The silence in the room was deafening. Tyler grabbed the folder and stared at the numbers. That cannot be right. It is right, I said. And here's the receipt to prove it. I pulled out a separate piece of paper, an official bank receipt with stamps and signatures. $5,000 transferred from Hannah Winters to Margaret and David Winters, October 23rd of last year. Mrs. Winters looked at the paper, her hand covering her mouth. Sweetheart, why did you not tell us? Because I did not do it to brag, Mom. I did it because I love you and Dad. I did not need credit or praise. But today, when my family accused me of not contributing, I had to show the truth. I turned to Brooke. Did you actually give them money, or did you lie? Brooke's face was bright red. I was going to. But at the time, Kyle and I were buying this house, and we needed to keep our savings. So you lied to Mom and Dad, and you lied to the whole family, I said. And then you used that lie to make everyone think I was selfish. Tyler was staring at Brooke now, his expression shifting from confusion to anger. You lied about that. I did not wait for Brooke to answer. I flipped to the next section of the folder. Now about the accusation that I told Kyle about Brooke cheating. I pulled out a series of printed screenshots. These are text messages between Brooke and a man named Aaron Mitchell from 2 years ago when Brooke and Kyle were already engaged. Kyle snatched the papers from my hand and started reading. His face went from confused to shocked to furious in a matter of seconds. The messages were explicit. I miss your touch. Meet me at the hotel tonight. Kyle does not need to know. Each message had timestamps and phone numbers clearly visible. Brooke, what the hell is this? Kyle's voice was shaking. Brooke lunged for the papers. Where did you get those? Aaron sent them to me 3 months ago, I explained. He contacted me saying you had used him and then abandoned him. He wanted revenge and thought I would help him. I refused, but I kept the evidence in case I ever needed it. And today, I need it. Kyle stood up, his hands trembling as he held the screenshots. So what you told me last year at Christmas was true. I never told you anything at Christmas, I said carefully. But someone must have heard something, or maybe Brooke created that story to blame me in case you ever found out the truth. Kyle, you have to trust me, Brooke pleaded. That was in the past. Your sister is trying to destroy us. The past? Kyle's voice rose. You were engaged to me. I trusted you completely. He looked at me, his expression full of regret. I am so sorry, Hannah. I believed the wrong person. I nodded. I understand. She is very good at manipulation. But I was not done. I turned to Tyler. And now, my dear brother. Tyler's confidence faltered. He looked nervous. Do you remember 3 months ago when you asked me to loan you $3,000 for your startup? You promised to pay me back in 2 months. Tyler shifted in his seat. I will pay you back. I just need more time. I am not asking for the money, I said. I just want everyone to know that when you accused me of not helping family, you forgot that I was the only one who loaned you money interest-free with no contract just because I trusted you. I pulled out another document. And this is an email chain between you and a competing company where you are currently negotiating to jump ship. You have been sharing confidential information from your current employer to get a higher salary offer. Tyler's eyes went wide. How did you get my emails? You left your laptop at my apartment last month. The email program auto-opened and I saw it. I did not say anything because I thought it was your business. But now that you voted to remove me from this family, I think everyone should know what kind of person you really are. Mr. Winters looked at Tyler, disappointment heavy in his voice. Son, did you really do that? Tyler said nothing. He just stared down at the table caught. I stood up slowly, looking around at each of them. I do not need this family. Real families do not vote each other out. Real families do not lie, manipulate, and betray each other. I looked directly at Brooke. You want to remove me? Fine. But I am also sending these documents to the law firm where you work because your dishonest behavior violates professional ethics codes. I looked at Tyler. And I am sending your emails to your boss. Then I looked at my parents. And Mom, Dad, you chose to stand with the children who lied to you instead of the one who always told you the truth. That was your choice. I picked up my folder and walked toward the door. Brooke screamed after me, You cannot do this. You are destroying this family. I stopped but did not turn around. You destroyed it first. Then I walked out, closing the door behind me, leaving my family in chaos. I drove back to my small apartment downtown, and the moment I parked my car, the tears finally came. But they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of release. For 6 months, I had carried the weight of their lies, their accusations, their silent judgment. And now, I had spoken the truth. My phone started ringing within 3 days. My mother called first, crying, Honey, I am so sorry. I did not know the truth about the money. You signed the paper, Mom. You voted to remove me. That tells me everything I need to know. My father called next, his voice heavy. Sweetheart, I was wrong. I should have stood up for you. You always stood up for Brooke, Dad, because she is the oldest, because she is successful and wealthy. But I do not need you to change now. Tyler sent me text messages begging me not to send the emails to his company. I did not respond. Through my mother, I heard that Brooke and Kyle were getting a divorce. Brooke did not contact me at all, and I followed through on everything I had promised. I sent evidence of Brooke's dishonest behavior to the State Bar Association, which launched an internal investigation. She was not disbarred, but she received an official reprimand and was demoted, losing her chance at partnership for at least 3 years. I sent Tyler's emails to his company's human resources department. He was suspended for 2 weeks without pay and required to attend professional ethics training. His startup lost its primary investor because of the scandal. I did not feel happy watching them struggle, but I knew these were the natural consequences of their own actions. I also did something else. I changed my own will, leaving everything I owned to charities that support nurses and healthcare workers. And I wrote one final letter to my family explaining that I forgave them, but I would never be coming back. Family is not about shared blood, I wrote. Family is about who stands beside you when you need them most. 6 months after that Thanksgiving, I was living a completely different life. I still worked as a nurse at the hospital, but now I had a real group of friends. There was Rachel, a doctor in my department, who invited me to her house for Christmas. There was Marcus, a male colleague who brought me coffee every Monday morning. There was my former patient, a kind, elderly woman who treated me like her own daughter and had me over for dinner every week. I realized that family does not have to be the people you were born to. Family can be the people who see your value, who do not judge you, who stand by you unconditionally. I also started going to therapy, learning to heal the wounds from childhood, from always being compared to Brooke, from always being told I was not as successful or impressive as my siblings. My life became simpler, lighter. I did not have to prove myself to anyone anymore. A year after that Thanksgiving, I ran into Brooke at a coffee shop. She looked thinner, older, alone. We made eye contact, and for a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she walked over. "Hannah, I am sorry," I nodded. "I know. I lost Kyle. I lost my position at work. I lost everything. I deserved it." "You did not lose everything," I said gently. "You still have Mom and Dad. You still have Tyler. They are still there for you." "But I lost you." I gave her a sad smile. "You removed me first. Remember, if I could go back. But we cannot. That is the lesson you needed to learn." We stood there for a few more seconds, and then I turned and walked away. I did not hate Brooke anymore. I just felt free. Now I sit in my apartment looking out the window at the city lights twinkling below. I think about the past year and everything that has happened. I learned that sometimes the family we are born into is not the family we need. Sometimes we have to create our own family from people who truly love and respect us. I learned that the truth is always more powerful than lies, even if it takes time for it to come out. I learned that standing up for yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. I do not regret opening that folder. I do not regret exposing the truth. Because if I had not, I would have spent the rest of my life carrying the burden of false accusations. I would have always wondered if I really was the terrible person they said I was. But now, I know the truth, and the truth has set me free. I opened my laptop and wrote a post on my personal blog. Today, I want to speak to anyone who feels like their family does not accept them. It is not your fault. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to love us are the ones who hurt us the most. But you do not have to accept that. You have the right to walk away. You have the right to find people who are truly worthy of your love. I posted it, and within an hour there were hundreds of comments from people in similar situations thanking me for speaking up. I smiled, feeling warmth spread through my chest. I had found my purpose, not just healing patients, but healing souls wounded by family. Maybe real family is not about where we come from. Maybe it is about where we are allowed to be ourselves. So tell me, have you ever had to stand up to your family and speak a truth they did not want to hear? Have you ever felt like you had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting yourself? Drop your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories about finding strength when the people closest to you let you down. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that you are worthy of respect, honesty, and real love. Wishing you all the courage to choose yourself always.